The most startling feature of habits is that you don't notice them, right? This is what makes them so powerful. No one's like, that's it, I'm done with friendship. But so many of us become that kind of person because of the normal grind of unhealthy habits. You didn't think your way into this problem, so you can't think your way out. It's not enough to wish for it back. You practiced your way to this life. And the great news is that you can practice your way out.
Hey, welcome to Wealth Beyond Riches. A special welcome if you're tuning in on the YouTube Wealth Beyond Riches channel, which we just launched. The podcast is not new. The channel is new. We rolled off of a different channel because here we want to focus on helping you reclaim your relationship with work and money. We all start out with the best of intentions in our career, in our passion, in our calling, and over time, we might drift into other things. And today's guest is going to help us with that. His name is Justin Whitmel Earley. He's an author. He's a business lawyer. He's also a former missionary. He's a CrossFit gym owner. He's a speaker, many different things. We're going to talk about his new book, The Body Teaches the Soul. We talk about donuts in Richmond, Virginia, the best donut places. We talk about pickleball and how it's a momentum game because he beat me. And I'm still getting over it. Also, we talk about living a life of anxiety. And true embodiment of our spiritual lives and our physical lives and our emotional lives and our careers all together. What happens when your habits and your faith are headed in two different directions? We'll talk about buying and selling a business and the team of people you need to get around you if you are thinking about an exit anytime soon. So if you are a person who wants to grow without losing your soul, this episode's for you. This is going to be good. So my first question is this. It's around something that you and I hold very dear to our hearts, and that is donuts. And, you know, whenever I find somebody else who has like a high standard for the donuts that they eat, I'm drawn to them naturally.
Yeah, as you should be. You have good taste.
So, well, I don't know. I'm not sure I do. So let's say you and I, you're from Richmond. If we were walking around the streets of Richmond and we're doing a donut tour, where are you taking me? Because this is always the first thing I do when I get to a new city is like, all right, where are the donut spots? Because this is important. We have 3 breakfasts here. We got to make the most of it. So where are we going exactly?
There are 3 great places that you can go for donuts in Richmond. One is the iconic country style donuts. They are like sort of out the city limits, and they are great, just like great, old school donuts. I would say. Yeah.
Oh, I love
There's
old school.
A newer shop called Sugar Shack that has taken over Richmond, and they're just fantastic. They do everything well. But the ultimate, which I don't know if they are available anymore, there was I believe, Mennonite food truck called Mrs. Yoder, and it would show up at the farmers markets. I feel like it kind of got disrupted in the last year, but they would do the best like yeasted, fresh dipped donuts. I mean, they're like as big as your head.
Yeah,
and because they were kind of like Krispy Kreme, like fresh, like yeasted glazed. They're like very consumable very quickly.
Yeah.
And so you could get through like 1.5, maybe 2 of these donuts the size of your head in a fury of like dopamine and sugar and then realize, oh my gosh, what have I done? and start like loving and regretting your life all at the same time. But
immediately starting a fast from donuts for about 6 months.
3 days. Yeah. Fast from all food for the next 3 days. Donuts for 6 months. Yeah. They're all great. So Mrs. Yoder's Sugar Shack and Country Style. I'm neither endorsed nor affiliated with any of these places, but I eat all of them.
but I'm a loyal customer. That's amazing. If you want to relive the Mrs. Yoder's, if you go to northern Indiana, 30 minutes east of South Bend, where Notre Dame is, you can find those as well. So
that might be worth the field trip.
Yep, it's in Mishawaka, Indiana. Check it out. All right, we're not here to talk about donuts, though I could for a long time. Real quick, Justin, quick background. I don't think you know this, but somebody from the Richmond area gifted me. I always like to talk about how you and I met. First of all, we met playing pickleball, and you destroyed me. In the championship game.
I had a good comeback at the end. I wouldn't say destroyed.
I thought I was destroying, and then it just fell apart. So,
pickleball goes by momentum. It's a fun, there's momentum swings where it's like, whoa.
Yes, I just caught the wrong side of that swing, but it's okay. I'm not bitter. Just a little bit.
Sounds bitter.
We can unpack that. No, so I think it was your first book, The Common Rule.
Yep.
Somebody, a good friend of mine here in Chicago, has family in Richmond, and he gifted me the book and listened to it, loved it. Since then, bought Habits of the Household. Another friend, Heath, gave me the book Made for People.
Oh, yes.
Which
so great.
Honestly was at a really... I needed it about 3 months before it came out. I saw you posting about it, and I was like, man, I need this right now.
Yeah.
And was going through some difficult, in I guess early 40s, friendships, 10, 15-year-old friendships changing, and going, what the heck do I do with this? I don't have a framework for it. So that was hugely helpful. And then you just gave me a copy of your new book, The Body Teaches the Soul, which we'll talk about today. All that to say, I've only bought one out of your 4 books, but I have all of them. So
I love that you're surrounded by so many people in life who are so generous.
I know.
Tim.
It's incredible.
This is great.
It's incredible. But man, I've been reading this book the last couple days, and it's just been a blessing. A lot of your books, what's so cool about them is they start with your story. And this is like real life learnings with Justin. Like, hey, I went through something hard. Here's what I learned about it, and here's what I'm learning now about myself.
That's right. Yeah.
But why don't you unpack that for me for a minute? Like, where did some of this stuff come from? To tell us about that season of life and where a lot of this stuff was birthed.
I am a business lawyer. Meaning I write contracts, primarily helping people buy and sell businesses, but also start and structure them.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that too, which I'm excited about.
Let's get into it. I'm also a author who writes about spiritual disciplines and habits. And to many people, those two are unrelated. To me, they are extraordinarily related, not the least of which because they both happen in words and writing. I mean, all of my life is either speaking, maybe it's talking to an audience about the spirituality of habit, or maybe it's negotiating a contract, or it's about writing, and maybe that's writing a book or writing a contract. So like my medium is the same as the medium of words, but they also, both vocations were birthed out of the same season of life for me, which is actually the primary importance. So I used to be a missionary in China in my young 20s. Fantastic time. Could tell you so many stories. But I actually felt called to become a business lawyer towards the end of that time, which I'm the only person who ever says that, but I really did. I felt called to be.
I was about to go there. I was like, oh my gosh, that's really good. That's the reverse call.
It is. Yeah. I left the mission field for a call to become a business lawyer. And there's a lot there that I'll unpack one day, probably in some writings on vocations. But that meant, Tim, that I really did run at business law with all the fervor of a man on a call. So I gave my everything to it. And what I didn't know at the time was how significant it is to give your life habits and rhythms to a vocation like lawyering. And I think lawyering is maybe a little more extreme than some other vocations, but it's not unusual. Like, many of us know what it's like to run really hard, be really constant, be on your phone all the time, probably be ignoring your body, particularly what you eat, how you sleep, whether you rest. And so I ended up right at the age of 30, embarking on my new law career. It was my first year of lawyering, and I had a head that was full of great Christian content. I mean, I was a former missionary. I had a really good worldview. And all this stuff was really good, but the architecture of my life, like the habits, was exactly like everybody else's. And I didn't really realize at the time that I had a huge dichotomy developing in my life. Usually people don't until it pulls so tight that the tension breaks and your house collapses, and that's what happened to me. So I ended up in my first year of lawyering having a terrible anxiety crash, a mental health sort of full collapse, where I went from being happy-go-lucky, highly spiritual, very motivated, father of 2 sons, business, former missionary, to now like a nervous medicating lawyer who couldn't sleep, constant insomnia, really serious panic attacks, even suicidal thoughts at one point, needing to have a drink or two just to fall asleep. And you can imagine this was a huge time of whiplash in my life. I mean, I really didn't know what was going on for a long time.
Yeah.
And I've worked through this story in, you know, a lot of my books touch on it, but in The Body Teaches the Soul, I really think it through carefully through the lens of physicality and spirituality. Mm-hmm. And the way that I would summarize what happened, you know, it's been a decade since, so a lot has happened, but I learned two things that are really fundamental. The first would be that your head can go one way, but if your habits go another, your heart will tend to follow the habits. Meaning, you know, you can say a lot of things about what you think are true, but the way that you live in ordinary moments, those ordinary habits pull your emotional and spiritual mental health life in a certain direction. And this is very common, unfortunately, but we can become people who say one thing. You know, we preach a gospel of peace, for example, but we're shackled by anxiety, or we preach a gospel of freedom, but we're shackled by addictions. This dichotomy of a separate life is one of the features of human existence, but none of us like it, right? And a lot of what it means to pay attention to that is to pay attention to the realm of habit. And this was a wonderful thing for the Lord to bring into my life at the age of 30, because it really made me rethink, how am I going to lawyer? Like, how am I going to be a father and a friend and a husband and a believer who also lawyers? Like, how does that happen? And so a lot of my early writings was working through that. But the second thing that I learned was just how physical that call to spirituality is. Because at first it can be like, well, you just need to rethink your habits. But the past 10 years for me has been realizing how very embodied habits are, and how, for example, the way you sleep is as important to your spiritual life as the way that you swipe your phone, is as important to your spiritual life as the way you pray, is as important to your spiritual life as the way you exercise or don't, all these things. And so I feel like, Tim, the way to tie all that up would be the past 10 years of my life has been a time where, like, the Lord's been taking out divides. I was like, He's like, you know, the way that you think and your normal everyday habits, like, no divide there. Let's kind of make them the same. And the way you think about your spiritual life and the way you think about your physical life, how about, like, no divide there? Let's think about them together. And these two things have been really, really powerful in helping me become a great father, a great lawyer, a great husband, and a great disciple of Jesus. And The Body Teaches the Soul is sort of one way of pulling out both of those divides at the same time and say, pay attention to your habits, including your physical ones.
Yeah, that's so good, man. And you talk about being this idea of being disintegrated, which I thought was Christianese. I didn't know that was like a psychological term.
No, this is good science.
Yeah. I'm going to send you a book after this. I think you would really like my friend Heath's book. He was on a couple episodes ago. But his is more from the straight spiritual lens about, it's called All Things Together, about things being fully integrated in our mind, body, and soul.
I would love to get that. Free books in the mail. Almost as high of a love language for me as donuts, which you delivered to my office this morning. I need to thank you on air for sending this.
Come on, man. Come on. I knew when you know a love language, you got to use it. So as you told your story at the beginning of this book, I love this line where you said, I saw my smartphone and laptop as sorts of control panels for my life. And you talk about floating in the current of modern life. Talk about that for a second. Like, what are we susceptible to as people that most of us maybe don't realize?
The most startling feature of habits is that you don't notice them, right? This is what makes them so powerful. So whenever you're talking about your ordinary rhythms, you're talking about a realm of life that is invisible to most people at most times, including you, which is why they're so important to talk about. Neurologically speaking, the way that habits work is that our lower brain is churning along in habit, which allows our upper brain to think about really complicated stuff while ingrained patterns unfold automatically. And this is how we become a person that both can make all the right turns on the way home safely while listening to a great podcast like this one, perhaps. But it's also the way that we can become that person who snaps at our kids or responds to our wife or goes back to that website, even though we know better and don't want to do that thing. So whether we're talking about severe, serious addictions, like maybe alcoholism, or whether we're talking about something that is less tangible but equally as damaging, let's say workaholism and always being on your email. Both of these things are ways that we float along with our neurological, physiological current. So that's one aspect. Like your body has a way that it wants to do things once it learns them, okay?
Yeah.
And as it turns out, culture is an enormous trainer of habit, right? A great way to think about culture is that it cultivates. Culture cultivates. It makes you a kind of person. Because like your habits, you tend to not notice the norms of society. So when you jump into law school like I did, and a realm of big law like I did. So after law school, I graduated pretty high in my class. I did great, got like a top job in international M&A lawyering. And, you know, when everybody's answer to the question, how are you, is busy, and everybody's, you know, conversation is about what they were working on late last night and early this morning. And when everybody's norm is to interrupt every conversation and check their phone, you stop to notice it. You, of course, notice it at first, you know. Yeah. It's like moving to a new country, and you're like, oh, my gosh, how weird is it here? And then very, very shortly, you're like, oh, this is what people do here. And so one of my great hopes is to get people to neurologically and culturally just look up. And, you know, it takes talking about habit to make you notice it, just like you don't notice that you're breathing till I just said it, and now you're like, well, what's the pace of my breathing? Hold on, should I take a breath? Okay, I'm actually out of breath. When you talk about habits, suddenly you start to notice them. And what I want people to notice is that we live in a culture where most likely you're becoming a busier, wealthier person who used to have friends and used to be healthy, used to be spiritual. I just named 3 things there that I actually think are incredibly important. Friendship, health, spirituality. Most of us can point to a time in the life we used to live where we were attuned to one or all of those things. And, you know, whichever one you're identifying with, just think about that. Most of us might be able to point to a time where we actually lived in community and it was wonderful. We were known. And yet somewhere across the past decade or decades, it's like, oh, we've receded. Like, I now have more money and I'm very busy and I've lost one of those things, like either health or my relationship with God or my relationship with other people, maybe all 3. Because, why? Not because you decided you want to become that way. No one does that. No one's like, that's it, I'm done with friendship. But so many of us become that kind of person because of the normal grind of unhealthy habits. And most of us, when we hear a conversation like this, look up and like, yeah, I do wish that I had that back. I do want that back. And I completely encourage you, affirm that and encourage you. All I'm saying is, you didn't think your way into this problem, so you can't think your way out. It's not enough to wish for it back. You practiced your way to this life. And the great news is that you can practice your way out. The great news is that every single one of these things is elastic, it's resilient, you can get it back, honestly, with less effort than you think. It just needs to be effort at the habit level. And you suddenly start to reclaim community, reclaim health, reclaim spirituality. That's basically a summary of all my writings are about, Tim, right there.
Yeah,
that's the nutshell.
Dude, that's a great summary. Take me to early 30s. You're in the restaurant with your 2 friends, and you guys are eating, and you talk about going, hey, I need a couple new Keystone habits because I'm not satisfied with where I'm at. And I think for a lot of people listening, they're like, well, I'm okay. Like I'm not, at rock bottom or something like that, but I would like to change a few things. What were the things you chose to change? Because I remember you saying they weren't like monumental. It was just a couple Keystone ones.
Yeah. That moment that you referred to, me at the table with my 2 friends in a restaurant in Richmond, is now iconic for me because it was about 10 years ago and I didn't know what was happening. That was the most significant feature of this moment. I happened to be sitting with 2 friends at the turn of the new year. I had been struggling with this panic and anxiety and insomnia that I was telling you about. And I decided in that year I was going to ask them to keep me accountable to a couple key rhythms. But it was really a last-ditch effort. I didn't sort of know how powerful ordinary habits were. And that's why this moment is so meaningful to me, because whether it's accidental and whether they're small, as it turns out, all habits are small. Nonetheless, when you say, I want to try one new Keystone habit, and you ask, one or two friends to keep you accountable to it, the impact on your life is unspeakably outsized to what you're actually doing. And that is the power of a Keystone habit in community. All right? And those two things are really important. So let me just quickly define that.
Before you do that, the last Keystone habit that I heard about was flossing. I heard a whole leadership talk that was like, if I floss, then I go to bed on time. If I go to bed on time, and then it just like he just listed out the different things, and it was all dental floss, which is amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm not endorsed by any dentist, but I flossed last night, and I have a lot of bad habits, Tim. We can talk about as many as you want of those.
Let's do it.
Flossing is one of my better ones.
Yes. Yeah. So anyways, keep going.
Keystone habit, that is a phrase for one small thing that changes everything. Just like you just said, flossing kicks off, well, then I go to bed on time. And, for most people, there'll be a common set of Keystone habits, and that's why I write about the ones that I write about.
Yeah.
Exercise is the classic example. Like even a modicum of exercise not just does what no doctor could otherwise do for your health. I mean, no pill, no nothing. Like nothing can change your health as much as a small exercise routine through the week. So it changes outsized impacts in your health, but it also, as it turns out, funny, people sleep better, they eat better, they make better decisions. They they even spend less on their credit cards. Apparently, there's really neat. There's really neat studies showing all the changes when you just change this one little thing of exercise. And there's other things, communally speaking, one friend who you talk to regularly about all of your life is an extraordinary change for most people's emotional life. Just like 1 hour of conversation, maybe every other week or so, where you're honest about your life. That's the idea of vulnerability as a Keystone habit. Changes enormous impacts in people's emotional lives. So they could be packed full, social schedule, surrounded by people, but if they're not actually honest about their life with somebody they trust, I call this being fully known, fully loved. That's a Keystone habit that changes everything. And again, it's like you spend far more time like on your text messages or social media or Netflix than 1 hour every 2 weeks. Like everyone has time for a Keystone habit. That's the important feature of them. And I could, give another, throughout time, throughout history, people who meditate, journal, or read old books. I'd put that on if you're a Christian, that's sort of in the category of a quiet time, right? But any leader throughout history, the ones that you see that are really, really successful are people who have practiced the Keystone habit of reflection. They typically, in the morning or in the evening, or maybe both, spend some small amount of time in either journaling, prayer, reading people who are dead, not just the latest leadership book, but some the Stoics or the Bible or the Proverbs, ancient history, something.
Yeah.
Those three examples that I gave are all actually really little things, but when you say, I'm going to build a day that includes moving my body, that includes reflective life, and includes some relational rhythm, you are so far ahead of most every other person to building a life that is actually rich and fulfilling just because you built a little bit of a day there.
Yeah.
There's so many other things that you could do with that day, and almost none of them are going to be as powerful as those three things in terms of building a life. That's what Keystone habits do.
Yeah, that's so cool. And what's hard is our entire world is built kind of against those things. I was dropping off some packages at the UPS store this morning. I had to return some things. And even that process is built to minimize relational connection and friction as much as possible. Like you can literally toss it in the air, scan the QR code, and run before it hits the ground, and you don't have to talk to anybody. It's wild.
That's right. Technology, and we're probably only even at the beginning of this historical moment, is obviously rapidly changing everything. But I think the more important thing to say, honestly, is that humans have always struggled with distraction, lack of presence, and conflict in relationships. So it's not surprising that we've invented technological ways to, give these problems steroids. I think the more encouraging note is that even in our modern moment, it is the small habits that can create ordinary changes to bring them entirely back, because you were not meant for distraction, you were meant for presence. Yeah. Even just a little bit of reading, meditating changes all of that. You're not meant for loneliness, you're meant for relationship. Even just one deep relationship can change all of that. And likewise, you're not meant to eat fake foods, scroll on your phone every day, and sit at a desk typing all the time. It's the quickest way to, honestly, death by white collar work. Yeah. You're not meant to do that. But just a modicum of exercise can actually prepare you so well to do the rest of those things really well. I spend a lot of time at my desk. I spend a lot of time on my phone and a lot of time on my keyboard. But just a small, body teaches the soul type exercise rhythm can be a radical change even in our technological moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I love those habits: movement, connection, reflection.
Yeah. That's a simple way to put it.
Yeah. And well, you said it. I'm just summarizing it.
I liked your summary though. It was a good one.
Thank you. I think about reading the old books. I have a friend, John, who says, build yourself a council of dead people that you can so refer to and get advice from. And
dude, my adolescent son was dunking on me last night about this, which was so funny. So because that is so important, building a council of dead people, and amongst other reasons, we've gotten our kids into classical education, which is different than the way I was educated in the public schools when I was growing up. And this is no shade on any particular school. This is just in favor of reading dead people. Yeah. He was talking about the Odyssey last night. This guy's 13, right? And he was mentioning some part, and I was like, wait, what happens at the end? He's like, he calls me Pop. He's like, Pop, have you not read the Odyssey? And I was like, yeah, actually, this is really embarrassing for me to admit. No, I haven't. I kind of know what happens. He's like, wait, have you read the Iliad? And I was like, no. He's like, haven't you not actually read Lord of the Rings either? I was like, oh my gosh, he's working so hard on me. Yes. I've seen all the movies, and my wife is a Tolkien expert, but I love that he's practicing at a young age. You know, this is patting myself on the back in some ways because we're pushing him into it, but he's being educated. He's making a norm of reading old dead classics because, as it turns out, they were asking the same questions that we are, and they were wrestling the same things that we are. And there's a lot of good wisdom in all of these things. And when we just confine ourselves to the latest leadership book, we'll probably end up with the same problems that most everybody else reading that book has. But when we make a council of dead people, and by the way, just tell your friend I love that phrase. Yeah. You are a different person from another time who has an ability to speak into this time differently because you do that.
Yeah. So good. So good. But new books are good too. The Body Teaches the Soul.
I do recommend some new books. For example, The Body Teaches the Soul. Yeah. I have in my chapter on mental health, combining the ideas of exercise as a weekly rhythm with, I think I mentioned in that, reading old books or reading poetry as a weekly rhythm. Yeah. Because really, I think anybody that wants to think holistically about their brain and mental health, and that's chapter 2 in the book, needs to think holistically about their life. And you can go in and out of talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you talk about poetry. You talk about even looking at art or music or beautiful films in a way that stir your heart, stir your mind towards something on the creative side of things, not just that, hey, how do I read this to get to the next thing and get to the next thing? But something that's stirring your affections. Maybe it's for God because you're like, oh my gosh, this is incredible artwork that I'm getting to experience. What's that called when you look at art? Visio Divina. It's like Lectio Divina, where it's reading, but Visio is hey, what does this piece of artwork say? What is it saying? What is it speaking to me today? With all that I have going on, what's it speaking to me today? So that's awesome, man. Hey, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk business.
Let's do it.
You're a business attorney. You're often helping people buy and sell businesses. Yep. The person I'm thinking about that I'd love to get your take on it, because you get to see multiple different transactions where as a business owner, I only have the experience of buying or selling my own business or businesses. But as you help people sell the business, what do you see that maybe most people are missing or aren't asking as they are coming to the table going, hey, I think I'm about to sell the business. What are the things that you're like, man, I wish I met you 5 years ago because we could have done this, this, and this. Whether it's technical stuff, business-wise, or whether it's, man, I think more of our problems are on the emotional side of things since we're whole beings. How do you prepare for that?
Man, it's hard because most business owners are like me. And by the way, I'm a business owner. Like I run my own law firm.
Yeah.
So which is why I honestly love working with small to mid-sized businesses, because I think like them. I'm also trying to grow my business, and I love helping people either buy or sell them. And on the sales side specifically, I think the most powerful thing people can do in preparing for that is building a good team around them of experts. And I often find business owners have gotten to where they are because they are pretty independent. They handle a lot of things themselves. And, good ones can figure it all out. Great ones know how to get advisors and experts in place. But a lot of them are understandably, and this is like me, sort of like, I don't want to spend that money there. I don't want to pay for somebody's time. It's like, it's the billable hour problem. But the best ones are ones that, and I'll just list a couple like team members here, have a great accountant, like a great tax advisor in place, have a great wealth manager in place, somebody who's thinking alongside them with their like long-term planning. Have a great attorney in place, somebody who, and this is where we come in, knows how to structure and execute a transaction, but gets involved before the structure and execution needs to take place, so that you can think. There's a couple things you can do, to set it up long term to be successful. But I wouldn't stop there, Tim. I would also say someone who has a great friend in place. We've been talking about this, right? But I'm gonna say, huge business transitions, particularly selling them, are so emotional for people because you've built this baby. You often don't know what you're going to do afterwards. You might be seeing a moment of liquidity that you've not seen before, and someone who doesn't have a friend to process that with, like if you're just processing with advisors, I feel a little bit sorry for you. Like I love the counselor at law part of my role, that I am a counselor, but would that all my clients like had a really close friend who they can like talk to and process with. And then finally, I think about a spiritual mentor, or somebody who's really helping you think about stewardship, generosity, next steps from here. And those are just 5 things, like a great accountant, a great wealth advisor, a great lawyer, a great friend, and a great spiritual advisors. Those are not easy, right? Like those are not easy, but people who have those components in place are, I think, looking at a great moment, and people who lack them are struggling through a difficult moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm thinking about like my spiritual mentor. I'm going to go golf at his golf simulator in his house tomorrow night. And it's just that person that I want to be like when I grow up. And
there
2,
you go. Yes.
If I ever sell a business, which he's done, then I can go, hey, how did you approach this? How did you set it up? What are the things you missed that you wish you would have done? And because we have a friendship, I know there's an alignment of values, and he's going to speak into what is best for me and what's best for my family and what's best for my spiritual life, all at the same time. Like that's huge. I did not expect that answer, but that's, man, so valuable to have those people that you can just vent to, and it has nothing to do with the semantics of the deal. It's just like, hey, here's how I'm feeling about this right now.
Yes. I mean, and I could give you the tax structuring answer too. Like, there's a lot of things you can do before your sale in combination with a good attorney and a good accountant to, structure it properly. But that's not set advice. Everybody's going to be a little bit different there. But I've been amazed ever since I started practicing law, Tim, about how much of my job is responsive to taxes. As in, like, when people are selling, why they're selling, the structure in which they're selling is so enormously tax driven. It honestly amuses me, but a lot of our job, and I do love it actually, is helping structure a company well to deal with the tax ramifications that are going to happen. And it's, on the one hand, it's way more important than you think, because nobody wants to pay needless taxes. But on the other hand, it's also way less complicated. Like, you're always going to pay a lot of taxes. You're just trying to minimize the amount you actually do have to pay.
Yeah. It's keeping more of what you've worked hard for, and how do you do that? You know, within reason. The tax thing is always funny because it's always a trade-off. It's like, I could do all of those things, but at what cost, and at what time, and at what complication? Exactly.
And at some point, the healthiest people are like, let's figure out how to minimize this because it's wise, but they're not so frustrated that they're going to pay any tax, and they're doing like structuring. It's like, I think you might be spending more on the restructure than you would have in tax. We're getting a little close here.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love how you said the counselor at law, and how you probably, I would guess, play the role of friend and mentor sometimes. Because
a little bit. And I honestly, Tim, I love it. I just don't want, I pity the person whose only friend is the lawyer they're paying for their time, right? I don't want to be that kind of friend. But I do want to be a friend to my clients, whether you're buying a business. And I love that too, because it's, people are equally emotional, equally like excited when they're like, this is a new opportunity for me. I work with a lot of people call, entrepreneurs through acquisition, like search fund people, small family funds, or small like private equity funds that are just buying lots of small businesses.
Yeah.
And it's so fun evaluating an opportunity with somebody, talking about like, where could this go? What does this business do? But it's not as emotionally fraught as selling one that you've like really created and spent your life on, or just restructuring. A lot of the clients that we deal with are actually maybe bringing in like a new majority owner, or selling down part of their shares, or bringing in a partner who's going to run it. And that's actually probably harder when you're bringing in a partner who's going to like be the CEO, and you're still going to be passive, or you're going to try to be, right?
Yeah.
And then you realize you're not good at being passive. Those, like, all of these things I think are so fun for me, Tim, because they actually are so relational. I mean, behind every operating agreement or partnership agreement is a nexus of relationships, and you're trying to ask, what could go wrong? How do we prevent that from happening? And how do we guide it towards going right? Yeah. And almost everybody I talk to, when they're, they maybe they have somebody they're going to sell to, or maybe they have a new partner they're starting a business with. They're like, there's a lot of trust here. Like, we know what we're doing. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, I'm so glad to hear that. We're going to write a really good agreement to preserve all that trust. To steward that trust, because what these documents do is they account for risk and conflict in a way that keeps you within the guardrails of great relationship and honesty and transparency. And I think there's so much more humanness to practicing corporate law than I ever knew when I heard the phrase corporate law, which sounds like one of the most unhuman words there is. It sounds like, I say I do corporate law, and I don't even know what people think. But what I think is, I'm in the business of fostering trust and relationships so a transaction can occur. Like, do you ever think about that? You don't do deals with people you don't trust.
Right.
You don't hand money to somebody who you're not sure is going to hand you the product back, right? Or you don't hand your business over to somebody who you're not sure is going to pay you for it. And what we do when we negotiate contracts and partnership agreements, operating agreements, membership interest purchase agreements, is we're accounting for how to covenant, how to trust, how to structure something well, so that two humans can do this great thing that we call economy. And I think that's really cool. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's I wish you would have structured some of our agreements, because that, just how you phrase that's so clear. You're obviously a great communicator, and so like, hey, this document, this operating agreement, is to help preserve the trust that you guys have built over time. Like,
there you go.
Come on, I've never heard that. That's amazing.
That makes it hopefully a little less boring and a little more worthwhile to read. Though you'll always need an interpreter. That's what lawyers get paid to do. Because we write in a technical language that a court will understand, but you have to have your client needs to understand it. That's actually one of the fun writing challenges of lawyering. Being technical enough to be correct, but being accessible enough to be understood. And honestly, that's not easy. I still haven't cracked the code, but we try.
Oh, that's so cool. So how is it going for you building a team right now? You talked about attorneys and wealth managers and tax advisors and stuff like that. But as you're building a business, how's that team building looking right now?
It's been my greatest challenge, actually, because starting as sort of a solo attorney after I did a couple good years, 4 actually, in big law. I got really, really trained by the boot camp of what we call big law.
Yeah.
I started, the year that I started writing, I started my own business law practice. And the joy has been that I've gotten to do both of the 2 things that I love, that is write and to lawyer. The difficulty is those are 2 jobs. My wife, has pushed me for a couple of years to be like, you need to start saying your like part-time thing or your side thing of writing. Like, you have 2 jobs.
Yeah, 2 full-time.
And one of them is like kind of writing about healthy habits. And so you need to figure out how to do 2 jobs with healthy habits, right? So this is like,
Isn't that great? The people closest to us who can just speak so wisely, right?
Yes.
Right where it hurts a little bit, but just enough where it's like, hey, I love you and you need to fix this.
One of my favorite songs says, a good woman will pick you apart. That's one of the reasons I love Lauren, is because she does it helpfully and kindly, but makes me see my blind spots. And I write about this stuff because I struggle with it, not because I'm like so good at it. But I've been wrestling to do these 2 things well. And one of the things that I find is that I'm like a lot of people I talk to, which is they'd love to build a good team if they only had time. And it turns out you need a good team to get you time. And so one of the things that I've really been wrestling with over the past really 2 years and starting to break through this year is building up a good team around me and like figuring out how to manage people well. And it's quite hard. Like, I'm not, you might be a great writer and a great negotiator, and I think I'm pretty good at both of those things, but learning to be a great manager is a whole other thing entirely. And I wouldn't claim to be great at that. I'm actually trying to learn it well. But I'm finding the, I guess I want to say humility, the good humility of realizing that there are things I'm not good at and that I really need somebody else to be good at for me. Yeah. And there's things that I need to learn to delegate that are like, well, I don't have time to delegate that. And it's like, well, the most important thing you're going to do is figure out how to make time, because otherwise you won't. And that's been like a real ongoing challenge for me, to learn to delegate, learn to get people to do what I was doing and now need to let go of. Yeah. And it's like all good hard things in life. It's so freeing on the other side, but it's so hard to do initially. Let's say exercise, for example. Really hard to start. You're really happy after you do. Yes. So it goes with delegating.
Yes. Oh man. Yeah.
And actually, if I could draw a quick connection there, Tim, I just thought of this. The same thing, I think, that makes it to be a good business owner with healthy habits is the same thing that makes it hard to delegate really well, at least for me. And it's getting over the false and dangerous assumption that you can do it all. Yeah. Like that leads you to unhealthy habits, because good habits are always limiting habits. Like, I talk a lot about scripture before phone, for example, as like, read old books. Could be dead people before phone. Sounds weird, but
there we go.
Or exercise, that friendship rhythm we talked about. Every one of those asks you to stop working and do something else, right? And so delegating requires you to let go of something that you wanted to control. And those, I think, are the building a team and building healthy habits have a singular feature in common that is admitting that you're limited and you need help. And that's kind of what makes them so hard to start, but makes them so rewarding once they're done.
Yes. Oh, so true. My friend Chuck said the other day, as he's a business mentor, and I was asking him about, what does healthy growth look like, and what are the different kinds of growth you can go after? And he was like, well, I found you can either control things or you can grow. It's really up to you. And
that's
I was like,
lovely.
Oh, yeah, lovely and terrible all at the same time. I was like, no.
That's right. We were just having a conversation yesterday with our team about like, well, how much growth do we actually want? And this is aspirational, but we came out saying we want to grow as much as we can. while being as healthy as we ought.
Yes.
And we'll let you know when we figure out what exactly that means. But everybody liked those guardrails.
Yeah. Yeah. Or build at the pace the culture can sustain it. Or building at the pace of grace, where it's like, hey, we can let's grow as fast as we can without losing our minds is kind of what I always go back to.
That's a great way to put it. Our informal, I say informal, it's gotten pretty formalized, sort of mission and motto at our law practice is good work, good lives, and good people. And that's to say we believe that law can be done really well, like do really good work without your life falling apart, which is so common for so many lawyers like me, even in my story. And we also believe we want to do that with like really good people, that we don't have to lose our souls to build a great law practice. And what we were talking about yesterday was, let's grow as much as we can while still doing really good work. And let's grow as much as we can, but if we have to sacrifice lives to do it, let's not do that. Let's grow as much as we can, but if we're now deciding we're going to do business like bad people or with people that we really ought not, and those are guardrails for us. Stay in good work, stay with good lives, and stay with good people, and then those are your guardrails. Like grow in there, and that's what again, aspirational. That's what we're working on.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thanks so much for sharing sort of the in process stuff. There's stuff you've written down and it's in books and people can buy it and they should buy it. But there's also like hey, what's going on right now? And I always appreciate that about you, man. You're real. You're
if
authentic.
We come back on in 20 years, I'll tell you how, growing the whole law practice and worked out.
Yes. And hopefully we'll still be eating donuts and they haven't banned them or something.
Once in a while.
Yeah. Thinking about, oh man, I really want to go down a donut tangent real quick, but I want to hit on the idea of money and generosity and what the reason I talk about this because it's core to who I am. It's core to what we help people with as we help people manage their wealth. The one thing we found that is if people are growing in generosity, they're growing in contentment and fulfillment and joy. And I think the message of generosity is only passed through story for the most part, because generous people aren't like, hey, guess what I did the other day? I want to tell you about it. And so I like pulling that out of people. And so I'd love to hear for you who is someone who's modeled that for you, because generosity is either modeled or a story has been told. Who's someone who's modeled that for you in your life, and how'd that impact you guys?
Wow, I love that. I would say my mom and my dad have been an incredible model of generosity to me, not because I've seen them giving away an extraordinary amount of money, but because I've seen them give away an extraordinary amount of life and time. I think the idea that we are blessed when we are blessing others, that we are most happy when we are most self-giving, has been intuited, honestly, by watching my mom and dad. What can you trade for that? No one can teach you what you feel from watching your mom and your dad. And maybe this is for anybody listening to think about, be that sort of parent. I aspire to, but my mom and my dad freely give their time when we need it. They freely give, whether it's volunteering, they do, whether it's being involved with things they do, but mostly just if their children need help, if their grandchildren need help, they're there, they're present. And then I think in combination with that, I would honestly lift up my wife, Lauren, here. She, when I was getting involved in my law career, she was getting involved in philanthropy consulting. So fancy way of saying she worked with a company that told people how to give away their money strategically.
Yeah.
And that is like often, like if you have enough money, it's wise for you to pay for help to figure out how do you be effective with this? How do you give, like if you want to change education in X area, well, how does one actually do this? Often pouring money at problems can hurt as much as help. And so she got trained in this idea of like, how do we do it well? And because of that, for now, years and years, one of the most exciting parts of Lauren's life is like, who are we going to give to and how? And let's make it really meaningful. Yeah. And I am just so grateful that, Lauren is sparking more conversations in our life usually about giving money than spending it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we have a lot of conversations about budget and buying this or buying that, but we have a lot of like meaningful conversations about where are we going to give to this year, and even we're young-ish. We just turned 40. We've been thinking about, all right, what are our long-term goals for giving, and that's been a really fun conversation that we've sparked together about like if our family was in tune to a couple things, like what are the kinds of things we want to show to our kids that we give to. And Lauren has been I think the model of generosity there, because that's what she wants to talk about. That's what gets her excited.
Yeah. Have you guys ever made a giving or generosity balance sheet of like or net worth? Like, hey, going back over my tax returns the past few years, like we have goals for retirement, we have goals for income, but then goals around generosity, just like not legalistic, but just like, hey, man, what if we could give away this much by this age?
Yes.
How cool would that be?
Yes. So we didn't call it that specifically, but now that you say it, we've had a loose goal that's been approximated to always give away at least 10% of our gross income.
Yeah.
That is before taxes, and to always give more than we did last year.
I love that.
And both of those have been, helpfully challenging.
Yeah.
We've also recently, this is aspirational, but I just share it because we're thinking and praying about it. And now that I share it, I'm gonna have to try to follow through on it now.
There we go.
We made the decision a couple years ago to send our kids to private school, which wasn't a simple decision because we were both educated in public schools, and there's pros and cons. But one of the things that we're really passionate about is being missional. We were both former missionaries, and we've made a goal to say, hey, what if, eventually we could give away, we could look at our whole costs that we paid for our kids' tuition across their life, and we say we spent more than that on paying for other kids' tuitions, for where they, scholarships or planning schools that people don't have access to. We think, the educational system is an institutional problem right now, and that's a really loaded statement, I know, but there's a lot of, it's not an easy problem to solve.
We don't have time for that, Justin.
Exactly. But we want to be a part of giving to an institutional solution. And so we sort of like loosely were debating, could we do this over our life? And those are like, that's a goal. That's a big one. I don't know if we'll accomplish it, but we might try.
That's so cool, man. And to think of the joy, to think of the satisfaction that's going to come from pursuing that goal. Even if you don't hit it, the road markers along the way for you, for Lauren, for the boys, as they see you guys going after that, man, I'm just excited for you of the generational legacy. David Green from the Hobby Lobby says, legacy is not what you leave behind, but what you set into motion. Like, think about what you're setting into motion by even sharing that. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. And I'm for you, man. Like I'm for that goal, and so excited to see what'll happen. Not only the impact, but what's going to happen in each of you, and in your family as a result. Because there's always and you give something away, and what you get in return is so much bigger, and it comes in a different form. Yes. It's not like the game of pool where it's just bouncing off, the exact right angle. It's more like soccer where stuff's moving around, and you're like, man, how I couldn't have received this joy unless I'd given that stuff away.
Amen.
So
truly is more blessed to give than receive.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. Last question, which is this. We didn't prep for this one at all.
Okay.
What is one thing that you are loving right now? This could be an experience. It could be a moment. It could be a person, a book, a product, whatever it is. What's one thing you're loving right now?
I love this. I'm getting a little too into coffee these days because it's one of those things that's like, it's actually not going to eat up that much money. And, it's one of the relatively like more healthy things to get obsessed with. And
just for anybody listening, I'm gonna out Justin here. Were you using an AeroPress on the floor of an airport
of Atlanta Airport
earlier this week?
Earlier this week.
So when Justin's saying he's getting a little too into coffee, it's true. It's true.
It's part of it is just caffeine and people like that, including me. Part of it is part of it is getting into the embodiment thing, where I'm like taking my own book seriously. I hope this is a good point. Where I'm realizing that, we don't like abstractly come to a meditative, reflective life. We come at it through embodiment, and that includes healthy sleep rhythms and morning rituals. And so I'm like getting really into like this same morning ritual, creating a cup of coffee that just like is surprisingly good to me morning after morning. Mm-hmm. And it honestly, and people can think this is either dumb or over spiritualized, I don't care, where I am most sparked to like sing a doxology, because I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is such a great gift. Like I think when God made the world and he called it good, he was serious. Yeah. Like it's capital G good. And though it's fallen and very broken, there are all these areas of joy to, I think, lean into, not lean away from. And, find the part of God's creation that just delights you. For me, that's been like making really good coffee. And yes, it like ends up being some complicated tools like the AeroPress on the floor of the Atlanta airport, and being like, I could go buy Dunkin' Donuts coffee, but hey, I got a 40-minute layover. What if I just make a great cup of coffee right here in my seat while everybody looks at me weird? And I'm like, great. If people aren't looking at you weird in life, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not living intentionally, because when you live intentionally with purpose and gusto, people look at you and you're like, what's he doing? But hey, be that person. So making a good cup of coffee has been, it's bringing surprising joy. And you were not just the benefactor of donuts this morning, Tim. You gave me a great bag of coffee.
I hope so. I hope it lived up to the expectations.
It was great. I'm forgetting the brand name now, but it was...
it's called Sparrow Coffee.
Yes.
It's the number one coffee bean distributor in Chicago to Michelin star rated restaurants.
I remember that, and I drank the whole thing. It was delightful, and now I finally get the chance to thank you for it.
So it's down the street from the high school where my daughters go. So, and it's on the way to the office. So I could go every day if I wanted to, which is amazing.
I'll meet you there someday, I hope.
Yes, I hope so too. All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. It is, if people aren't looking at you weird, then you're not doing it right. So just to sum everything up, that's it. So the thing I've been loving, this is a conversation. I don't know if you knew that. The thing I've been loving lately is I have this very analog weekly planner. I think it's from Ink and Volt, or Ink plus Volt.
Okay.
And it just has like the days of the week at the top. I should have brought it with me. And then it has like 6 different like categories of things you're going to do, and then lists of to-dos. And it's analog, but I love it. And on Sundays or Mondays, I get it out and I write down some of the things that I want to do. And sometimes I don't even look at it the rest of the week, but you go back at the end of the week and you're like, oh, dang.
The process, though, of handwriting things out changes the way you think about them. I love that.
Yeah. So anyways, a lot of people have stolen it. Go support Ink and Volt, because I think they came up with it. So, but that's been so good for me.
I'm going to go check it out now.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Justin, thank you so much for this conversation. If you're listening and you haven't already bought The Body Teaches the Soul, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm showing it. If you're listening, I'm showing a copy of the front of the book. And it's an incredible read. It's in what I've read so far, it's already, like the other day I was reading the book on breathing, and I was like kind of anxious about something. And then I took some time to control my breath. That's a habit, but that I do. How many times a day do we breathe? Like 40?
It's a silly number. It's a silly number.
I don't know, 40,000, something like that. And just taking control of my breath slowed my heart rate down and just got me to a different place. And so if you want to take back control of some of the things that you've been adrift in, check this book out. But Justin, thanks so much just for being generous with your story today. And every day you're very generous with your story, but thanks for sharing with us today. I so appreciate it.
And this is a great conversation, Tim. Thank you.